Listen, you want to be here watching Guns N' Roses?
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to GNR Central, and we got some GNR news for you today. Now, this news kind of broke pretty recently, and there was recently an interview done by the St. Louis Today with Richard Fortus, and he talked a bit about the timeline for when we would see another Guns N' Roses record, and here's what he had to say. So he said Slash is on tour right now. Once he gets back from that, we're going to get some more recording done and hopefully get an album out soon, and then we'll get back to touring. So according to the calendar on his website, Slash will return from Europe in mid-March and then go out on the road again in May, and after that he won't have a significant amount of time off until mid-August. So shortly after the conclusion of the Not in This Lifetime tour, Fortus said, "We're going to try and do another record, get it out soon." He said, "I think it'll happen faster than you think, and I sure hope it gets done faster than you think." So back in 2017, he admitted that they had done some recording, just some ideas, assembling ideas, but not going into a studio and actually tracking a new record. Otherwise, they haven't really been clear about their future plans, and at December's final tour date, Axl Rose told the audience in Honolulu that we hope to keep this thing running, so we'll see what happens next. That echoed in an interview he gave in July where he said, "Right now our focus is on touring and the shows, but everyone seems to be getting along, so you never know." So soon after, they denied that they ended up recording a cover of the T-Rex song Children of the Revolution for a Mark Bowen tribute record. Slash also gave an interview where he talked about why he initially disliked Sweet Child of Mine from Appetite for Destruction. So he was down under about a week or two ago, and he's been giving a lot of interviews to Australian television. In fact, he gave his first televised interview, I think, in like 5 years. So he said that, you know what happens is when you come up with something like that you think is cool, but how it's going to translate to other people, you never know. I was the guy who initially was not a big fan of Sweet Child of Mine back in the day, and that was not because, more not because of the riff. It was just really more about the type of song it was at the time, because we were a pretty hard-driving band, and that was sort of an up-tempo ballady type of thing. So it's grown on me over the years, but that's a riff I never knew I was going to take off the way it did. He also talked about touring over the years. He said, "I've been touring pretty steadily since 1987, so that's a lot of tours." Slash said that the 90s were a pretty big blur to him, but he's been sober since 2006. He said, "Pretty wild. The 90s I don't even remember, and I sort of gave it all up around 2006. I'm a rock and roller through and through, but just recovering from drugs and alcohol." So Slash also talked about how he has taken a political turn in his latest record. Now, he's largely kept out of politics for the last 3 decades, but the latest record hints at a critique at the current conditions in America. So on the album's title, he explained living the dream is a sarcastic statement that we use a lot. You ask somebody how they're doing, and they say, "Oh, living the dream." It's sort of a tongue-in-cheek statement. In light of everything that's going on politically, in the U.S. especially, living the dream is a sarcastic statement as to what's going on there, Slash said. So Slash also gave an interview where he talked about his thoughts on the band Greta Van Fleet. So, of course, while he was down under, he was on Triple M Radio from Australia and shared his thoughts about the new generation of rock stars. So he said it's really opening the doors for a lot of new young bands, which there are a ton of that just can't get any kind of traction. So it's really cool that those guys are making such headway, referring to Greta Van Fleet. The thing is that there's really cool energy right now for new rock and roll bands, and it's the kind of right energy because it's the kids who are doing this for the right reasons. It's not about getting on MTV. It's not about fame and stardom. It's not about the Learjets and chicks because none of that stuff exists in the music industry anymore. It's all about the music, and it's about the passion of doing whatever it takes to be able to get your music out in front of people. So I'm really inspired about what's going to happen over the next 2, 3, or 5 years and coming out new music-wise. In a separate TV interview that Slash did, he also talked about his legendary top hat. So he had this to say. He said that I have one that I wear and I have a couple other ones that are sitting around in the closet, a couple old leather ones that I never got rid of, but for the most part I just have the one that I'm wearing, and when that one putters out, I'll get another one. He said, "For the longest time I used to just either wear it or carry it around, and a few Christmases ago I got a hat box, like a leather hat box, and I just carry it in that, and that's actually pretty cool. It's like a purse. The hat's in there. I keep a book in there, some wallet change, my belt, my bandana, and a couple other knickknacks and stuff. I just carry it and I put it up in the overhead compartment thing in an airplane." Now, in an interview that Tracy Gunz did recently, he gave his thoughts on Guns N' Roses and was asked about whether he's seen any of the reunion shows. So he was interviewed on the Blaring Out with Eric Blair show, and the interviewer asked him about Guns N' Roses and the last time he saw the band play, and Tracy said the following. He said, "I haven't seen Guns N' Roses. I was telling my manager about it. I saw them at the LA Coliseum in '92 with Metallica. I think that was the last time, and so good. Slash is so good. I loved the record when it came out, and yeah, it was my band. If it was my band, it wouldn't have done the same thing with me in it. The combination of Axl and Slash, that visual, that sound, that's the chemistry that sells the brand." Now, turning now to some Matt Sorum news. So, as you guys know, he's in a supergroup with members of Black Sabbath as well as Billy Idol's band. And his new supergroup is called Deadland Ritual, and they've announced a tour that there's going to happen in Europe this spring and summer. So they will be hitting the road with vocalist Frankie Perez, and the band announced a European tour that currently would be the first shows that the group has ever played. So it's going to launch on June 4th in Copenhagen, Denmark, and it continues throughout the month, culminating the weekend of June 21st to the 23rd in Hellfest in France. So the group recently released their first song and the video for the track Down in Flames. You guys can check out the link down below. As for upcoming dates, the band is expected to play a mix of original material along with deeper cuts from their previous band's past. It won't be the typical songs you expect, adds Sorum. I was working on a new solo album when it came to light, Geezer Butler notes. It was appealing for me to work in a band environment because that's what I'm used to, so it feels really natural. I'm really looking forward to playing shows with these guys. So Geezer Butler was also interviewed about why he came out of retirement to even play with Matt Sorum in his supergroup. So he had confirmed his retirement after Black Sabbath played their final show in 2017, but according to Geezer Butler, retirement was a lot harder than he thought. So Butler explained to Eddie Trunk in a recent interview how he came to start Deadland Ritual with longtime Billy Idol guitarist Steve Stevens, singer Frankie Perez, and former GNR drummer Matt Sorum. So the newly established band released its debut single Down in Flames late last year and announced 2 festival gigs this coming summer in addition to a European tour. He said, "I retired after the last Sabbath show. I just traveled and did everything that I wanted to do when I was retired for a year, and then I got fed up with watching TV every day and I started writing stuff again, because that's what you do. I've been doing it for 50 years, so it's in your blood and you can't stop, especially when it's your hobby as well." Now, Butler says he initially had been writing for his solo project titled GZR when the fellow Rock and Roll Hall of famer Sorum got in touch with him for a band opportunity. So the bassist says he prefers collaborating in the solitude of composing compared to composing solo. He said, "It's what I've done since when I started when I was 16. I was in a band, and when you're doing solo stuff, it's just you writing stuff. There's nobody to bounce off, and I really miss that." He also added that the members of Deadland Ritual all live near one another, which allowed them to write and record without planning sessions months in advance or getting management involved. If I feel like I'm writing a song today, I give Steve a call, I go to Steve's house, and then we try something. Now, Tracy Gunz had some choice words for one of his former bandmates. We're turning now to some LA Guns news. Now, he said that his former bandmate Steve Riley is a piece of shit for assembling his own version of LA Guns to play an East Coast festival this spring. So when the M3 Rock Festival, which is one of the largest 80s rock-themed events in America, if not the world, announced their 2019 lineup, LA Guns was on the list of scheduled performers, and it soon became clear, though, that the band who takes the stage that day won't include Guns or singer Phil Lewis, as the show will mark the first and, as of now, the only appearance of the group anchored by Riley, who still owns half of the LA Guns name, and bassist Kelly Nichols, who played in the band's first 4 albums. So asked by the Blaring Out with their Eric Blair show how he feels about the drummer going out and playing gigs as LA Guns, Tracy Gunz said, "He's a piece of garbage. That's what I think." He then addressed Steve directly, saying, "You owe me a lot of money, you expletive, and you expletive you." Tracy also talked about the importance of the relationship between brands and bands and how sometimes brands carry more weight than individual band members. He said, "I think that's probably true in some cases," Tracy said, but real fans, I'm going to go see Aerosmith, Steven Tyler and Joe Perry have got to be there. It's straight up Led Zeppelin, Bonzo, John Paul Jones, Robert Plant, and Jimmy Page. That's another scenario. I don't care what you call your band. Those 4 guys are in the band, and that's what I want to see. LA Guns is not that bad, and the reason I know that is because Phil had a version, I had a version. When we're together, we do 4 times the business than when it's our names on it. So I feel sorry for people whose brand is more important than the actual band. He also said, "A lot of musicians I've met are really desperate," he added. "I understand why, but it's like, you've got talent, show it, do it." So Riley is the longest tenured member of LA Guns, a group he joined shortly before the release of their 1988 self-titled debut, and while he's pictured on the album, he didn't actually perform on it. Now, although the band famously featured more than 50 members in its ranks throughout the years, with the exception of a 2-year period in the early 90s, Riley was a sole constant from 1987 till the end of 2016, when the group that he and Lewis managed to keep alive for nearly 15 years without founding guitarist Guns, who quit the band in 2002 on the eve of their acclaimed album Waking the Dead, dissolved. So since then, Lewis and Guns, who after years of acrimony buried the hatchet in 2016, have forged ahead with LA Guns while Riley focused on other projects. So the Guns-Lewis version of LA Guns will release a new album titled The Devil You Know on March 29th via Frontier Music SRI.
Hey, this is Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses, and you're watching GNR Central. Yeah!